What's going on, you guys? This is New York Adventurer 1994 here, and today is Thursday, September 12th, 2024. And I know yesterday was the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, and it's a day where we remember the people who lost their lives during the attack. The thousands of people that lost their lives, we remember those people. But that's not all that happened yesterday. Yesterday marked the 6-month anniversary of my friend Robbie's mom. Yesterday marked 6 months of my friend Robbie's mom passing away from cancer. And I didn't want to make a video about it on 9/11 because it was already sad. It's already sad as it is that it was the 23rd anniversary of the attacks, and I didn't want to make a video about it on the anniversary of the attack, so I decided to wait till the next night because it felt a little too sensitive to make it that day. So I decided to do it on the 12th instead, even though she passed away on 3/11, which was March 11th. Yeah, I wanted to wait a whole other day so I can make the video. Yeah, we are talking about Robbie's mom here, who passed away on March 11, 2024. And she's been gone for 6 months now, and Robbie and his brothers have been without his mom for the last 6 months. It's been a really sad 6 months for the family. I remember Robbie's mom. She was like a really nice person. She was like one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And she would always do everyone a favor, and she was like a mom and a friend to everyone. She really loved her family and her friends, and she would do anything for them. And she would do anything for her children too, and her children's friends like me. She would do anything for anyone, and that's what stinks so hard about her being gone. It's been a hard 6 months without her. She was like one of the nicest people you could ever meet. She never really told anybody no. She would always help others in their time of need. Robbie's mom did everything for Robbie. She was the reason why Robbie went to school in Albany. She was the reason why Robbie was able to go to school with me. She was the reason Robbie was able to do all this stuff he did in the past. She basically did everything for Robbie. It was the reason why Robbie had all the stuff he had for the last several years. It's because of his mom. She did everything for Robbie. It really stinks to see her go from cancer. I knew this woman ever since I met Robbie in 2006. Me and Robbie go way back into kindergarten, and I've known Robbie ever since 2006, and we both went to kindergarten with each other, and we started going to the same school, me and Robbie, starting in kindergarten like 18 years ago, and I knew his mom like right after that. So I knew his mom for a very long time, for 18 years. As long as I knew Robbie. Yeah, I remember how nice she really was, and she never really said no to anybody. She was always there for people. And I'm gonna cut right to how she passed away. So, about 2 years ago, I learned that Robbie's mom got diagnosed with cancer. And any photos you saw of her the last 2 years, you could see that she had that thing on her head, and she was actually starting to go in a wheelchair. There were photos of her in a wheelchair because of her cancer, and she's wearing that thing on her head because of it. It was really sad how she was starting to collapse. When I went to Albany the first time, And if you look at the photos from May of 2023 of when I first went to the walk, the Best Buddies walk at the Crossgates Mall, you could see in those photos that she didn't look that good. She was starting to collapse, and you could see that black thing on her head, and you could see that she was in a wheelchair because of her cancer. She was really starting to collapse. It's just really heartbreaking looking at those pictures nowadays. It's just really heartbreaking taking a look at all those photos of her, because you could tell she was really sick, and she had this cancer for the last 2 years of her life. And by the time 2024 started, like after the holidays, like around February, it started to get really bad. That Robbie actually had to come all the way to Long Island because she was really sick. And she was in hospice care, according to Robbie. Robbie told me she was in hospice care, and that was why in the end of February, Robbie had to make an unexpected trip to Long Island. Because they didn't think Robbie's mom had much time left ahead of her. And it was getting to the point where she wasn't really doing so well anymore. And Robbie was there with her the last 3 weeks of her life. And I credit Robbie for that. He, like a lot of people, put family first, and he would stay by them, especially in their time of need. So it was March 11th, 2024, and I remember it was windy that day. I had no idea what was going on that day. The whole day seemed normal. So nothing really happened to me that day. I was completely fine that day. But then that night, Robbie texted me on Messenger just saying hi to me, and he's telling me that he's okay. And then I go to sleep and I randomly wake up at 12:30 in the morning. It felt like some kind of twitch or something came over me. I randomly woke up at that time. And then the next morning, I'm at work. And then Robbie texts me the bad news. He texts me the bad news that his mom has passed away last night. And that was the moment where my heart just stopped, and I was just really heartbroken that day. I was just really, really sad that day, the minute he told me. I felt like I just collapsed emotionally. It was a really hard day for me that day, knowing that his mom has passed away from cancer after she got diagnosed with it for 2 years. It was a really sad day for me that day, March 12th, learning that Robbie's mom has passed away. After all these years of me knowing Robbie, for almost 20 years, I found out she's passed away from cancer. And this was the news that we always feared. We always feared this news with her because she was starting to look bad. Like ever since the last year, like when I started going to Albany, that's when the collapse really started. Ever since my first Albany trip, I saw that it was getting really bad from there. And she wasn't really looking that good. And the results were the same the next time I went to Albany in October for Robbie's softball game. That was the last Albany trip that we went on she was alive, where she was still alive. It was like the last 5 months of her life. When the second time I went to Albany in October 2023. And she was lucky enough to celebrate the last holiday season with her family. She was lucky enough for that. Thanksgiving 2023 and Christmas 2023 were the last Thanksgiving and Christmas she was alive at. And it was the last New Year she was alive too. Going into the new year of 2024. I didn't see her once in 2024. The last time I ever saw her was in Christmas of 2023. when me and my friends went to Applebee's like a week before Christmas. That was the last time I ever saw her. I'll never forget that. So she passed away in March of 2024, and I didn't want to make any videos for 4 days due to respect. I really wanted to respect Robbie that week, and I didn't want to make any videos of me talking about whatever. I decided not to make a video for a whole week after that because I was just really sad of what was going on, and Robbie was going through a hard time. So out of respect, I didn't make a video that week until after the funeral. And then it was Thursday, March 14th, 2024, and me and Nick went to the wake that night, and we were saying our final goodbyes to Robbie, his mom. We said our final goodbyes to Robbie's mom, and the funeral took place on Friday, March 15th. And it was a really sad that day, knowing Robbie's mom has been put to rest that Friday. It was a sad day for all of us. I didn't make a video for those 4 days because it was completely devastating that day. It was completely devastating that week. It was just really hard. I was still going through the emotions like for the next 2 months. I went through 2 Disney trips grieving the loss of her, back in both April and May. Thankfully I started getting better in May, but it was really hard those 2 Disney trips, and I went to the Best Buddies walk for a 2nd straight year in April, and it was like a really hard trip for me without Robbie's mom in the picture. It was a really hard trip for us because this was the first trip without Robbie's mom, and this was the first trip that was like this. It's the first trip that's like this. And not to mention, we had the first Easter without Robbie's mom. Robbie and his family had to celebrate Easter without his mom for the first time. I felt really bad for him. I was so grateful. I was so glad that I was able to spend Easter with Robbie. I'm so grateful I was there with Robbie that Easter on Good Friday. Because I knew he really needed me, and I was definitely there for him the last 6 months. I was definitely being supportive, and I had no problem showing up to the Easter at one of his family members' house. So I went to the Easter of his on Good Friday, and I celebrated Easter with him on that Good Friday, and we got a picture with the Easter bunny, and we painted eggs. Yeah, I was able to celebrate Easter with Robbie that year because I knew he really needed me, and I was there for him. Thankfully Robbie and me are starting to get better now. We've been trying to get better, but it's still really hard without his mom, but at least Robbie and me are doing better now. But sadly, 4th of July was her birthday, and it was a really hard 4th of July without her. And yesterday it was really hard because it was both 9/11 and 6 months of her passing. It makes me glad that we're no longer in the 2023-24 school year, because it was a really sad ending to the school year without her. The one thing I was grateful for is that Robbie's mom was able to be a grandparent to Robbie's nephew and niece, because one of his older brothers has 2 kids, and Robbie's mom was able to be a grandmother like a few years before she died. I was really grateful for that, and one of her kitchen supplies says the happiness of being a grandmother that Christmas of 2020. So yeah, it's been 6 months since Robbie's mom passed away. We will never forget her. She was a really nice person and a wonderful mother to Robbie. We all missed her, but thankfully things have gotten better for Robbie and me. And I guess that's it. Bye.